Have you ever felt betrayed by the people you love the most? Don't think you're the only one. I just discovered a shocking truth. My family used my credit card to book a dream vacation to Hawaii, and I had no idea until I saw a charge for nearly $12,000 on my card. At first, I thought it was some kind of fraud. I immediately called the bank, but when I checked the details, I saw an email confirmation linked to my name and address. I realized that my own family had planned this luxurious trip, not just for themselves, but for my sister and her boyfriend too, all on my account. I couldn't believe it. How could they do this? How could they steal from me like that? And what made it worse was that they didn't even ask. They just assumed they could get away with it. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Well, I'll tell you what I did next, but trust me, this story gets even crazier. Here's how I reacted. I didn't call them. Instead, I opened my banking app, clicked on Dispute All Transactions, and immediately froze my credit card. The entire process only took a few minutes, but in those few minutes, I felt like I had regained control over the situation. I didn't hesitate. I didn't second-guess myself. I was done letting them take advantage of me. I wasn't going to allow them to think they could get away with something like this. That money was mine, and I wasn't about to let them steal it. I remember feeling a rush of power as I locked my card. It was simple, direct, and effective. The ball was in my court now, and they had no idea what I was about to do next. They thought they could manipulate me, but now I was the one in control. I didn't even wait for their call. I let them figure it out on their own. I knew they'd be angry, but I was ready for it. I wasn't going to back down this time. The next day, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my brother, who wasn't even invited on the trip, by the way. They're refusing our tickets. What did you do? He asked. I just replied, what you told me to do. I'm paying for myself. I couldn't help but feel a little satisfaction as I read his message. They had no idea that I had already taken action. I knew that they were probably scrambling, trying to figure out how to fix the situation. But the truth was, I wasn't interested in fixing anything. I was done. As I walked out of my office, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a call from my mom. She was furious. She demanded to know what I had done, why I had canceled everything. But instead of feeling guilty or apologetic, I stayed calm. I wasn't going to let them guilt-trip me into feeling bad about protecting my finances. The more they tried to argue, the more I realized how deep their sense of entitlement ran. They thought they could just take from me without any consequences. Well, they were wrong. This wasn't about family anymore. It was about setting boundaries and making sure I wasn't being taken advantage of anymore. They didn't see it that way, of course. They were too busy being angry to understand. But that was their problem, not mine. I had already taken back control, and nothing they said could change that. I wasn't going to let them drag me into their mess any longer. The next step was to make sure they knew that I wasn't backing down. And trust me, things were only going to get more complicated from here. A few days later, I received a text from my brother, the one who wasn't invited on the trip. He said that they had been denied boarding for our flight. I simply replied, just like you said, I'll pay for my own trip. The message barely settled in before the storm hit. Within an hour, my doorbell rang. It was my parents, my sister, and her boyfriend, all standing in front of my door. They didn't wait for me to invite them in, they barged in as if they owned the place, immediately starting their rant. Why would you do this? My mom yelled, her face twisted in disbelief. You've ruined everything. We were just trying to do something nice for once. My dad, arms crossed, leaned against the doorframe with a scowl. This family always sticks together, he muttered, his voice low and controlled, but there was a fire in his eyes. You've taken things too far, way too far. I stood there, trying to keep my cool, but the words they said felt like they were meant to make me feel guilty. They expected me to fold, to back down, but I didn't. I'm not going to let you steal from me, not anymore, I said calmly, but firmly. This wasn't just about a vacation. This was about you using me to fund your image of a perfect family. I'm done with that." Their faces fell for a moment. They didn't know how to respond. My sister, who had been mostly quiet, spoke up. "This was supposed to be a family trip, and you just destroyed it." She sounded hurt, but there was an edge to her voice. "You've embarrassed us in front of everyone. We were just trying to make it look good for Liam." Liam, her boyfriend, was standing off to the side, awkwardly shifting his weight from one foot to the other. I could see the discomfort on his face. He wasn't even supposed to be part of this conversation, yet here he was, dragged into the chaos. I looked at him briefly and then back at my family. "What exactly do you mean by make it look good for Liam? You thought that if you spent a ton of money and created this perfect image, he'd suddenly see you as some stable, perfect family?" They didn't answer right away. My mom and dad exchanged a glance, and I knew they were starting to realize that they had gone too far. But they weren't ready to admit it. "We were trying to impress him," my mom muttered. "He's going to be a part of this family soon. We wanted him to see us as well off, secure." She was almost pleading now, trying to justify everything. "You're our son. You should want to help us, not tear us apart." "Help?" I scoffed. "You used me. You thought I wouldn't notice, that I just let it slide because we're family. But this isn't about family. This is about you using me to hide your insecurities." Their expressions soured, the realization hitting them harder than I expected. My dad's face darkened, and he grumbled something under his breath. "You'll regret this," he muttered as he turned to leave. I didn't feel an ounce of regret. What I did was exactly what needed to be done. I wasn't going to let them manipulate me any longer. As they walked out, my sister shot me one last glare. "You've ruined everything," she hissed, before slamming the door behind her. I stood there, listening to the silence that followed. It felt heavy, but not in a bad way. I knew I'd made the right decision. The storm was far from over, but I was ready for what came next. The more they reacted, the clearer it became, they had been playing me for years, and I was done being their backup plan. The next step was to figure out exactly why they did this, and how far their manipulation went. But that was a question for later. Right now, I was focused on staying strong, no matter what they threw at me. As I reviewed the transactions, something became painfully clear. The vacation wasn't about relaxation or making memories, it was a performance. My family wasn't looking to unwind on a tropical beach. No, they were trying to create an illusion of a perfect, financially stable family, all for the benefit of my sister's boyfriend. They wanted to impress him, to make him believe they were well off and secure. What they didn't consider was the cost, literally and figuratively, and the fact that I would be the one footing the bill for this entire charade. They thought they could pull it off, that they could play the part of the successful, affluent family without anyone noticing. But I noticed. I noticed everything. It wasn't just about the vacation anymore. It wasn't even about them enjoying themselves. It was about control, about how they wanted to be perceived. They were so desperate to appear successful, to secure a future where they could rely on someone else, me, while hiding behind a facade of luxury and stability. I sat there, staring at the charges. The extravagant dinners, the spa treatments, the beachfront resort. It was all part of their plan to impress Liam. But what they didn't realize was how much it cost me, both financially and emotionally. They thought they could just take from me, manipulate me into being their financial backup, all while hiding behind their carefully constructed image. And the worst part? They didn't even have the decency to ask. They assumed I'd just go along with it because we're family. It wasn't just a trip. It wasn't about a family vacation or bonding. It was a strategy. A calculated move to secure their place in Liam's life, to make him believe they had their lives together, so that maybe, just maybe, he would feel obligated to take care of them in the future. And they thought I wouldn't notice? They thought I wouldn't see the strings they were pulling behind the scenes? I realized then that they hadn't just stolen money from me, they had stolen my trust, my autonomy. And I wasn't going to let that slide anymore. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't about a family bonding trip. This wasn't about me being a part of anything. This was a calculated effort to manipulate, to put on a show, and to use me as a pawn in their game. I wasn't going to let them play me like that. Not anymore. And that's when it hit me. I had to cut ties. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the manipulation, the lies, and the way they thought they could control me. I had given them a chance to change, but they had shown me who they really were. It was time to move on, to rebuild my life without them dragging me down. So, I made the decision. I was done. I wasn't going to let them use me anymore. I had to walk away. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. I needed to take back control of my life, my finances, and my future. And the first step was cutting them off completely. If you've ever felt manipulated or taken advantage of in a relationship, or if you're looking for ways to take back control of your life, then I invite you to subscribe to my channel. Together, we'll explore more stories, strategies, and insights on how to rise above challenges and build the future you deserve. This journey toward financial freedom and personal growth is one that we can all take together. If you're ready to take the first step, to break free from what's holding you back, and start building a life on your own terms, then hit that subscribe button. Let's share our experiences, learn from each other, and grow stronger as we move forward. I'm excited to continue this journey with you. Let's make the change, together.